Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Change is inevitable. Behind me, you can see partial Galactus, my 32-inch Galactus, moved as things in the office are getting shifted around. Boxes behind me as things are going into storage and other things are coming out to go into module cases. Things always change. Sometimes for the good, sometimes not for the good. The things that I'm doing in my office, I perceive to be a positive change. Clearing stuff that didn't need to be here out. Bringing in stuff which I think would be really cool and interesting to look at. And not just from an aesthetic point, but from a mental point as well. Giving me that little lift, that little boost, looking at that thing and going, oh, that thing's awesome. We can put that with franchises and movies that we love. TV series, characters, video game series, the whole job lot. You get an amazing first game, second game, third game. Maybe a great trilogy of movies. Maybe a great television series. And then, of course, invariably, if a franchise is so popular, the change comes. They need to dig that franchise back up. Star Wars, turn of the century, Phantom Menace. Oh dear. But then, of course, we got The Force Awakens, Return of the Jedi, and the vomit-inducing Rise of Skywalker. Indiana Jones. There's, to me, only 3 Indiana Jones movies: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade. My own little personal favorite is The Last Crusade. I think it's just such a fitting and amazing send-off to Indiana Jones, his father, his friends. Some people who like Raiders might dispute that. That's great, because I think Raiders is fantastic. It's like choosing between beautifully tasting cuisines. It's not like because I like one, I don't like the other. It was an amazing trilogy. A dozen years or more ago, we had Indiana Jones and the Laughing Crystal Skull Vodka, or whatever it was called. Terrible, absolutely terrible movie. And the reason why it didn't work is when the original Indiana Jones trilogy came around, we were looking at a man at the peak of his ability and his power. We are looking at the rogue Indiana Jones in the prime of his life, kicking ass, grabbing the girl, saving the day, flying around the world. It's incredible stuff. That, to be a little bit ageist, and this comes from an old man, that's a young man's game. Certainly a young and fit man's game. So when Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull came around, we had a 68-year-old-ish Indiana Jones. And although Harrison Ford looks fantastic for his age, he's kept himself in incredible nick. There's no denying that. And he's kept his looks as well. So, you know, but you don't want to be watching a 68-year-old man trying to do the stuff of a young man. It doesn't work. You can visually see what he can do, and then you can visually see where the movie magic, inverted commas, takes over, and understand and realize that's not legitimately what a man of that age is going to be able to do, going to be able to pull off. You know, he can't go off with a 25, 27-year-old beautiful woman. The age is not appropriate. I mean, it is if it's a Hollywood marriage, but we're not talking about that. And I don't know how many years separate him from Calista Flockhart, but I think it's around about 30, but whatever. It just doesn't work on a visual standpoint. The movie itself, the story was terrible. The CGI was awful. And the addition of Shia LaBeouf and etc. It didn't work. It didn't in any capacity work. It looked like you had dragged the very happily retired Indiana Jones out against their will and then plonked them in front of a camera, and it was all wrong. So when, I believe, one of the reasons that Harrison Ford came back for The Force Awakens was that he was able to get a 5th Indiana Jones movie. But now we weren't even talking about a 68-odd-year-old Harrison Ford. We're talking 79, 80-year-old Harrison Ford. The trailer dropped for the, what I can only describe as terribly named, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which sounds like, and I love the show, by the way, sounds like some terrible Relic Hunter episode or some cheesy CW television show episode. Doesn't sound like something Indiana Jones would potentially get involved with. And just seeing the trailer, and some people will be happy, we get inserts of nostalgia bait of Indy. We see him as an older man in the 60s now, because he is 80 odd years old. We see the little adventures that he's been on. We see there's still a professor at the uni. And it doesn't feel right to me. It just never... if it didn't feel right a dozen years ago, how the hell's it going to feel right now? When we have to, as an audience, take into consideration, we have to imagine that certain things which are happening, which couldn't happen in reality, we have that suspension of disbelief. But here it just doesn't work. Not with a man of this age. So we see that there's potentially going to be time travel back to the 40s, back to the Nazis. Mads Mikkelsen, another tremendous actor who I love dearly. I think they're absolutely phenomenal. But again, just doesn't feel right. A lot of this just felt green screen, didn't feel like the actual locations. But this thing right here, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, is to me movie cancer. A absolute raving feminist that was brought in to ruin movies, the Bond franchise, because she had to put the feminine perspective of, is this okay for a feminine audience? And of course, what we got was Daniel Craig as a cucked Bond that ended up essentially killing himself at the end of the last movie because he couldn't be with his wife, well, his partner or daughter. Absolute nonsense. She was an embarrassment in Solo as the progressive android robot that wanted to free them from slavery. Oh my god, it was absolutely cringe-inducing to see her on screen, and every time I see her on screen, it's cringe-inducing again. If Phoebe Waller-Bridge is involved, I don't want to know. And with the potential that Indy is actually going to get blinked out of history, and we can see some good de-aging and whatnot, blinked out of history, and she's going to take over as the next, when I say Indiana Jones, the next adventure. Nobody cares. Nobody wants that. Nobody cares. Nobody's into that. Again, more terrible CGI. This is sad. It's the only way that I can really describe it. This is sad. I do like Harrison Ford. Maybe, I don't know him as a person or anything, but I do like him as an actor. I think he's a very good actor. I think he's got a lot of charisma, a lot of personality. Even though he can be very droll. He plays the rogue so well. He's so cheeky. He was amazing as Han Solo. He was amazing as Indiana Jones. You know, and that's two massive, massive franchises that you've managed to succeed on, which is so rare. Absolutely rare. I love Mads Mikkelsen. Like I said, in Hannibal, he's second to none. I liked him in Death Stranding with Hideo Kojima. Even in Casino Royale. Liked him in Casino Royale. He's got, again, such incredible presence about him. These are people that I like, but the situation to me is wrong. It doesn't feel right. This is a franchise that should have ended back in, what was it, 89, 90? With The Last Crusade. This is not an old man's game. This adventuring stuff is a young man's game. And seeing this trailer, a lot of nostalgia tricks, but nothing which in any capacity, and this is terrible CGI here, in any capacity got me thinking, oh, this is going to be a good movie. I feel a tinge of sadness in a way. A tinge of sadness that a once great movie franchise got a couple of real, or certainly one, potentially two, real stinkers to end it off. And that grittiness of the Raiders series, and there was a grittiness to it, has unfortunately been replaced by superficial green screen yucks from what I can see in the trailer. To me, there'll always be only be three Indiana Jones movies. I think to a lot of people, that'll probably be the same. I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.